In today's video, we talk about the mind-muscle connection, and is it important? Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Revelia from ProPhysique.com. Hope you guys are having an awesome Monday, and I hope you had an awesome Mother's Day weekend. I got to spend some awesome time with my family. My wife, who is an amazing mother, we got to go shopping, have some dinner. I took over for the day for some kid duties, and overall it was just a great weekend with my parents. And yeah, so hopefully you guys all had similar situations. Were able to spend time with those that you loved. Let's talk about what's going on this week. Well, this is my wife and I's 4th anniversary, so we're taking a little getaway. So Wednesday and Thursday, I'm going to reduce my workload to the bare minimum, and I'm going to focus just on spending time with my wife. We don't get a lot of alone time, you know, away from the baby, and you know, just time to just build our relationship. I think the last trip we took was in September. That was to Las Vegas for the Olympia, but we stayed for a couple extra days and had ourselves a nice little mini vacay. But this is the same type of situation. We're just taking a short trip down to Fort Lauderdale, going to the beach, probably gonna go out to some dinners, have some fun, and yeah, that's gonna be it. So I'm excited about that. But this week doesn't slow down. In fact, it speeds up some things. Europa this weekend, so I get back on Friday, driving right over to Orlando, picking up Chad Nutter from the airport. My man Steven is coming over as well. So it's gonna be a really awesome weekend in Orlando. And then on top of that, class starts this week for summer session. So yeah, I'm already gonna be playing hooky from class. So hopefully Dr. Campbell doesn't get too mad at me, but I'm excited to learn about strength and conditioning with him. So let's talk about the topic at hand today. I wanna talk about mind-muscle connection. This is something that we hear a lot about when we start lifting, because as bros know, you got to be able to feel the muscle to know it's working. So what's interesting is that there's a study reviewed by Greg Nuckols in last month's issue of Mass, the monthly application of strength sport. For those that aren't familiar with Mass, it is a review by 3 amazing people, Dr. Mike Zordos, Eric Helms, and Greg Nuckols, of research that is relevant to nutrition, strength and conditioning, body composition, all the things that we're interested in as physique athletes, as competitors, as people trying to build muscle, get stronger, perform better. So if you're interested in research, but you don't know what to look at and you can't read it, well, this is awesome because it actually breaks down each study and explains its relevance to what we do, what I do as a coach, what you're interested in, and then it also gives recommendations on what could be done next. So let's talk about this article that was reviewed by Greg Nuckols. Does the mind-muscle connection actually impact muscle activation or performance? Nailed it. Okay guys, so let's talk about the review that Greg did. And they basically looked at a leg extension, right? And so they gave a couple different types of cues. They gave a cue, the cues they describe are internal, external. One of the cues was simply push as hard as you can against the pad. The other cue was to actually try to activate one of the leg muscles of the quadricep. And what it basically came down to, there wasn't a lot of difference in the activity, there wasn't a lot of difference in the activity of the leg muscles using those two things. And while I would agree on a single joint fixed movement like a leg extension, there's not a lot you can do. You know, you can do some things with foot placement, but if you're going to go to failure, you're going to recruit all the muscles of that muscle group, right? And for most of us that are bodybuilders, we're going to be using a leg extension or things like that, getting pretty close to failure, so we're actually recruiting a lot of those muscles. But what I think would be an interesting study, and Greg mentions what he thinks as well at the end of the article, what I think would be interesting is a movement that's more compound joint related, where some of these things that's taken me years to actually learn how to get the muscle that I want to work, to improve. And one of those things is pull-ups or lat pull-downs for those that can't do pull-ups. For years, you know, I would get into pull-ups and I would notice not a lot of back improvement or not a lot of size in the muscles of my back but yet the arms and the shoulders would grow. And that's because I did not have the capacity for the mind-muscle connection. For the muscles that needed to work, my bigger muscles would overpower. Despite the fact that the back muscles are technically bigger than the biceps, usually the bicep is going to be more overdeveloped early on in training for someone like myself, when all I did was curls and bench. Thanks to Arnold Schwarzenegger, that's all I cared about was chest and biceps. So that's where I think mind-muscle connection, that term, can actually come into play, is in things like the posterior chain. I think the posterior chain is, since it's behind us, it's very important that we get in tune with how our bodies are moving so that we're not using muscles or using movement patterns that are in a bad way, possibly leading to injuries. So for example, I love the lat pull down. Also a big fan of, really feeling the hamstrings when you're doing a hamstring variety of the stiff leg deadlift. Not the typical deadlift, because we do involve some quadriceps in the back in that. But when you're doing a stiff leg deadlift, you're actually really focusing on the hip hinge and feeling the hamstring stretch and contract, and you can really feel it like that. Another movement that I feel gets a lot of incorrect form is the bench press, or any kind of pressing specifically for pectorals, because early on when I would press, I got really strong at bench, but my elbows were here, right? And I would notice that my shoulders were getting really overblown, and I wasn't getting a lot of density in my pecs, which was actually the goal of bench pressing at that time. And it wasn't until I learned to actually feel my pec contract during the movement, right? I can actually feel the muscles here tightening and expanding. It wasn't until that I actually started to notice that my chest growth started to take place. These are the kind of things that you can pay attention to when it comes to mind-muscle connection. And I hope you guys will sign up for Mass. I'm going to put the link below. It's an affiliate link, and any of the money that I benefit from is going to go to this group right here, the University of South Florida. I'm going to be giving it to Dr. Campbell in his lab to do more research, to do more studies, to educate more people, and yeah. So anyway, guys, that's it. My thoughts on mind-muscle connection, I do feel is very valuable, especially as a bodybuilder who is focused on growing specific body parts. Hey, it's Dr. Campbell. All right, I'm going to take this. Talk to you guys later.